Hello and welcome to India Career Center, the one stop podcast for students, professionals, parents, and guardians. In every episode, we will try to deal with a current topic that needs expert advice related to career guidance, and career mentoring. Please welcome your host, Dr. S. Mishra, to the show, and happy listening.
Ladies and gentlemen, today I have got a very interesting, intellectually very interesting speaker, Aayan Banerjee, who is basically also the podcast host for a couple of his own podcast. The one is called Bastalk. I think you can see the creative on his screen as well, and the other one is called Aayanism. I think both of them are successfully into their fifth season now. Correct me if I'm wrong.
Yep.
And Owen does, as far as I remember, I think he does everything solo. It's not something very easy because I myself have never tried doing anything solo. I have been always doing interview-based podcast. So hats up to you to put up continuously so many episodes for fifth season now in a row. So that's fantastic. And just to give a brief introduction about how I got in touch with Oyon is we got together on another platform called Swell. It's a short form, not many of you may be aware, but definitely those who follow me and Owen probably they would be knowing about Swell. It's a short form conversational um, platform where both of us came to know each other, and that's how I got to know about Owen. And my purpose of this episode is actually to learn more about from other podcasters who have actually achieved much bigger milestones. They are ahead of my game, ahead of the game compared to me in this journey. And my whole selfish purpose is to learn from people who have done it already and achieved certain amount of milestones. So, Ayan, thank you very much to invest your time today with us on this podcast. Welcome.
Thank you for having me, SD. Appreciate it.
Okay, so Ayan, to start with, let's try and understand about little more about you. And to do that, I will actually read out, you know, his introduction, which is written on his LinkedIn page, and it says, "Follow the process, and the result will follow," is a sign of obedience, and at the root of efficiency is obedience. What what if you are disobedient? Disrupt the process is a sign of disobedience. Disruptions are known to lead to success, but disruptions also bring chaos. To counter chaos, you need normalcy, but normalcy abundance creativity and prefers obedience because at the root of creativity lies disobedience. So go figure. So it's I found it very intellectually and philosophically very interesting piece which is written on your LinkedIn post. In fact, in your LinkedIn profile, and that truly encapsulate you as a person. I mean, the little what I know about you, that actually comes out through this phrase. And to explain this further, I would invite you to this conversation. So, first of all, please explain as to why you wrote this and what was the thought process behind it.
It was like the root of that is a zero-sum game. We grow in our careers, giving people having to give us instructions that do this, do this, do this, and we often ask questions: Why am I doing this? But we are too scared to ask questions, right? Or if somebody with great credentials is saying that, then I ought to believe it, I ought to follow it, I should not question it. And we follow it. And so over a period of time, we fall in line through obedience. only to find later on that they hire somebody from outside to to think out of the box. And there lies the dichotomy of it all, right? So hence it was these few lines, and it's just this is a post which I do every now and then. And being an introvert myself, sometimes we are often labeled as overthinkers. I'd rather be on the side or err on the side of overthinking than not thinking. And so I try to capture the dichotomy that we live in today's world with those lines. But to back up a little bit, SP, thank you so much for having me, inviting me over. I come here in personal capacity. Uh, None of my past, present, or future employers endorse anything that I'm saying here. It's on a completely, strictly personal point of view. And clearly, it's not for one organization or the set of organizations I've worked with, but some of these understandings, this assimilation, this filtering of thoughts comes from interacting with many leaders, people from across the world, really. And that's where the richness of experience answers a lot of questions and also sets in new questions. Oh, I didn't think about this. And hence the evolution of thought process, and so given the fact that we live in a capitalistic environment where either you're growing or dying, the dichotomy is in the system in itself. And what I mean by that is, if you are constantly trying to reach towards this extreme performance, can you get there by obedience, by normalcy? My sense is you will get there by disruption. But the moment you take that path, disruption by nature does not always mean success. It also means chaos. So then what, you don't like chaos? So, well, if you don't like chaos, then how are you going to get where you want to get? So that's the dichotomy or the question, or thought-provoking question that I thought I tried to capture in those few lines.
Yeah, I agree. And in fact, it is not just about in today's times. I think it has been always like this, that we are always in a cycle of, something going up and something coming down. And it's actually quite philosophical. I mean, that's a cycle of life, I would say. And it has been like this for centuries, or probably for thousands of years. It has been like this. It's just that it has come out so beautifully in those lines. So thank you for that.
Thank you.
So taking the conversation forward, so let's try and understand a little more about this person, Aayan Banerjee. If you can take us through your early life up to your professional career.
Sure. Fun fact. People know me or pronounce my name in 4 different ways. I've had the privilege of living across the 4 uh, corners of the country. So, of course, in Kolkata, they would pronounce it as Oyon, like you're doing. Further down south, it is sometimes becomes Aayan with a double Y. Further up north, it becomes Aayan, which is the most common thing. In west, typical from Gujarati, the term becomes Aayan, like Nayan or whatever. The right way, and when I explain this to my Caucasian friends, it's like it sounds like Ryan or Lion, so it's Iron, hence the double A. And that itself is a conversation starter
Yes.
for everybody.
Your name can be a good starting point of a conversation, actually.
Yeah, it is. And so I explained to them that iron does have a meaning, and most Indian names do. And then they're like, especially those outside the country, they're pleasantly surprised. And they're like, oh, I didn't know it had a Sanskrit name and whatever. Some also think it's an Arabic name because Ayan also means gift of God or something. So I don't correct them. I mean, not that I mind much. It is just that it's like when we travel abroad, there are lots of people who prefer to be addressed correctly, and they generally don't like it if they're not addressed correctly. So I picked up that habit that, well, let me just make you more comfortable to let you know this is how you, and I can understand you're not perhaps familiar with Indian names. So let me just give you some reference to context. So then they ease up and they open up, and so it helps. Quick snapshot about my. So I've been all around, really. I've grown up in Delhi, grown up in Gujarat, I've grown up outside the country. And so I had, you know, we all think that if you grow up in one place, you develop a sense of belonging, and neighborhood knows you, the people know you, everybody knows you, and it develops a very strong personality, right? Folks who are listening to this, who have done from nursery to their masters in one location, they turn out to be slightly more different. Most, I think they were more bonding with the place, and they're rooted, they're grounded. I'm exactly at the opposite end of the spectrum. Doesn't mean I'm not rooted or not grounded, but what I have learned, having lived in many places across the country and outside the countries, I've become more adaptable. And so one of the early lessons I learned was, like Charles Darwin said, it's the survival of the fittest. I realized very quickly it is the survival of the most adaptable.
Very true.
In this, so the relatability of cultures, practices that are alien to you, open up your mind in some sense. It introduces curiosity. So while I miss the one place familiarity, like some of my family members have, who have just grown up in one place, been there, and so everybody knows them, and there's a sense of camaraderie, bonding. I don't have that. I probably am a product of this global citizenship, if you will. I miss that root somewhere, but I'm also very privileged to have made so many connections that I am very relatable. I understand, and therefore some of this learning and success or knowledge that comes to you is because you could. Because the flip side of staying rooted is that you begin to think that is your reality, and accepting reality elsewhere becomes very difficult. And if you look at the global geopolitics, that's where the problem statement is, because everybody's trying to say my truth is the ultimate truth and your truth is not good or incorrect or whatever. Whereas the reality, if I may say so, is a coexistence of multiple truths.
Absolutely, I agree with you.
And we are not able to grapple with that. And at the heart of it is because many of us have not had the privilege, I guess, not had the fortune or opportunities to go out and meet people, learn from them, be in uncomfortable situations. So it has got a bit of both. And like I said, there are disadvantages of traveling so much, is that then you don't have a deep sense of belonging to a particular place.
In fact, I have an immediate question. I thought I will stop. Hold myself, but I could not. So when it comes to thinking about a home per se, I know you are right now based in Bangalore. So for you, the home is right now in true sense right now is Bangalore, but I'm sure your roots are, let's say, from Bengal and or eastern part of India. And so when you think about home, so do you now link it to the place where you stay in Bangalore, or you still in your memory think that, okay, it is some place in eastern part of India. I don't know whether it is Kolkata or where it is. How do you think about it?
Home to me means a set of happy memories in that particular location.
Yes.
Wherever I had the most happiest memories, I identified that as home.
Okay.
I look at, say, career-wise, my early career at in Bangalore, where I had a lot of happy memories. Not that I'm not having happy memories now, but when you're growing up, right, you tend to identify with those people, those places, those cultures. So I do consider Bangalore as I was not born here, but you have a lot of happy memories. And so even in childhood, I spent a lot of time in Delhi, up north. So a lot of happy memories there. So that was home too. And so there isn't one single location which I can identify and say, okay, this is, and of course, Kolkata is always there. But Kolkata was more like a vacation destination that you go, you visit, and it's, okay, that kind of stuff, because we're always, outside.
Okay, carry on. I think sorry I disrupted you in between.
No, like I said, so I've been pretty much all around the country, multiple schools, and then finally, I think my career started with a startup. And the times when nobody did a startup as such, and it was the .com boom happening at the time. The natural course of action was to finish, the graduations and masters and go into a regular job. So I went and opened a garage with, one of the main. I mean, there was the main founder, and then of course I was one of the first, person. The good thing about it was we actually had a proper revenue model which was very unheard of in 2000 or thereabouts, right? Early times, but it coincided with the .com burst. So in some sense, as it happens, people part ways and go. But thereafter, I went the conventional way, moved into technology and tech sales, tech business development, and stuff like that. So for the next, now 23 years running, I've done just 3 jobs. Somebody was saying, is that good or bad? Like in our days, that was considered very good. But somebody, no, you didn't get any other opportunity, that you just had 3 or 4 jobs. And I was like, yeah, we're happy with that. And there were big learnings from having a longish stint. And not that I designed it consciously at the start, but as I progressed my career through Oracle, Microsoft, Amazon, through to Zoom now, you realize the importance of stability, the importance of giving it time rather than getting restless. And I think you and I were discussing about it. I had a great example of someone in previous life I'm leaving and going. Like, why are you leaving? I'm not getting growth. It's like, okay, what growth do you want? I need more salary. So why do you need more salary? Because I did 100%. But you were hired to do 100%. You were not hired to do 99%. What constitutes growth? Oh, no, I worked hard and I got 105% or whatever. That's why you got your incentive or bonus. What constitutes growth? Like, the person was completely like, I don't know, but I'm missing out on opportunities. I said, fair. Where is your written down career development plan? And where are those milestones which you ought to have reached by now and you are not reaching, hence the frustration? Like, nah, I don't have one. Like, oh, so then you are frustrated because your friend got a better package and you didn't? Is that it? So those learnings happen, SP, and so the moment this realization happened a little early, I realized that the challenge is to make things work where you are rather than jump ship. Of course, there are many riders to that.
Yeah.
You also, conviction is also, there is a thin line between being convinced about something and being in denial. You're very convinced about it, but that also makes you rigid and also makes you be in denial. So I don't know if there is a scientific way to figure it out, whether you're being in denial, it's not working out, why don't you get out of here, versus taking that decision too soon without really grinding it out. So that balance is to each their own. I cannot be prescriptive about it that you have to do this or that. But I'll just pause after I say this, and I'll hand it back to you. Is if you look around LinkedIn, and you look at some of the top leaders in who have reached the upper echelons of senior management, one thing is very common. At least all of them have at least one thing common, which is they have one stint which is greater than 10 years in one company. Almost 9 on 10 top level leaders have done one stint of 10 years, 12 years. Somebody has done more, something. In the same company, you can do multiple roles. You could rise level, but it's the same organization. The flip side is, how many leaders do you know who have become top leaders with like 12 job changes in 20 years? That should give the answer. I don't know of many.
Yes, this is a good observation. I think most of the top leaders do tend to have at least a 10-year stint in a particular organization. Yes. But that also brings a dichotomy, is that if everybody tries to stay for 10, 12 years in each of these companies, then obviously the number of top position is only limited. As you go up in the ladder, it's like the cone going up, So, so it's a dichotomy. I mean, one has to really see from the point of view of what is right for him or her at that position. But in principle, I do agree that stability, long-term stability in a particular organization, which you might actually take different roles, but long-term stability in an organization is very much required to grow. Yes.
In my hiring career, when we talk to people, we want to hire people because of tenure. And I'll tell you why. Because it tells me that you've been tested. You've been tested through highs and lows. Not all the 10 years will be, you have an upward trajectory. Sometimes you will be, you're a survivor. And those who value that credential, that equity point, they would say, wow, it like 15 years you have done 3 jobs or 2 jobs. That's fantastic. You might not be, a 10 on 10. And I'm not, the thing is, I'm not looking for a 10 on 10. I think I'm good at a 7 on 10 the person can be, she can be molded or he can be molded to a 8 on 10 or 9 on 10. And like I've always mentioned, you can't sprint a marathon. It's a 30-year journey. I'm beginning to sound like Mr. Viru Sasarabuddhe of 3 Idiots, but it is a 30-year journey. So you suddenly get restless that in the 10-year mark, you've not hit it off the charts, and get restless about it. That might not be the ideal way. So hence that 10-year thing. If it doesn't, like I said, it's a judgment call. Don't be in denial either that it's not working out. The thing is, if it's not working out and you're not performing well, many organizations in this design will not keep you. It's highly unlikely they will keep a laggard, right, beyond the point. So it's always generally a good sign that you've spent a long time. Right? Okay, you must have done something.
Yeah. And this is true. What you're saying is for people who are, let's say, right now in their mid-career and who started, let's say, about 10, 15 years professional journey, about 10 years or 15 years back. This concept will hold good. But those young people who are going to get into a job by 2030 or beyond, I think for them, the story is going to be very different. The reason being, by 2030 and beyond, I don't think the job market of today will be same. The concept of job also will drastically change because of the rapid change in the technology. I think that's going to be uh, a key differentiator, so to speak, when it comes to the future, which is completely unknown. As we speak right now, I think none of us actually are aware of what is going to happen with respect to the technology. Of course, people will be required, but um, their roles in the organizations are going to be completely changing. That's one. Number two, many organizations might actually adopt a more hybrid kind of a structure where if they have 100 people right now, that permanent people, out of that, probably 20, 30 people will remain as permanent, and the balance 70, 80 people will be more like on and off contracts or professionals. That is the way I see it. I mean, I may be wrong. I mean, I'm not a futurist or a forecaster, but that is how I see it. I mean, I don't know what is your view about it.
Great point. And no, you're absolutely right. Let me break it down into two parts. Let's go back to 1990s.
Hmm.
Typing used to be a job. Typing. There were typing institutes.
Right.
Might come as a surprise to the Gen Z and millennials. There used to be a typing speed test, accuracy test, and people ran households because they could type well. With the advent of the keyboard / internet or whatever, we thought, oh my God, now I don't know what am I going to do, but here we are. The classic example is a service that withstood for 163 years, shut shop on July 2013. If you've not guessed it already, the last telegram was sent on July 2013. That was the means of communication, rapid communication, mass communication to anybody and everybody, right? And today we send more than 8 billion emails a day.
Yeah.
So by the same analogy, same logic, what this next generation that comes into market in 2030 will have to adapt to the then circumstance environment, and which they will.
Yeah.
Just like we did.
I'm sure.
Our parents said, don't watch television because the color television had come. And I'm dating myself here, but then we survived. Then they said, don't, oh my God, internet has come, don't watch. Now it's like, don't do Instagram, ChatGPT, Instagram, and whatever, Facebook. But likewise, by 2030, there will be some more. So
Yeah.
there is a bit of sameness, there's a bit of pattern that is there, that there will be this thing that will die off, but the new thing will also come.
Yeah.
So I'm quite certain that the generation that is studying right now will definitely adapt. Like I said in the top of the conversation, is the survival of the most adaptable. Will find new ways to learn new things, some of which are not even invented yet, which is absolutely fine. And the second part of your question of the hybrid thing, well, there's so many things tied to it, isn't it? Cost of acquiring a customer. Now, earlier things worked on relationship primarily. I know SP knows me, and then we become friends, and then we do business together. Right now, you are just like a vendor to your customer if you're offering a product or a service, and if you are not articulating the value to help them get to where they want to get, then they will find somebody else, relationship notwithstanding. So I would overtly emphasize on the relationship quotient. The cost of acquiring a customer is become like 4x of what it was before. And so the CFO, the entrepreneur, or the guy who's putting in the money is thinking, how do I get the best bang for the buck? If one guy goes and meets 2 customers a day, that doesn't work for me. I need to get to 30 customers. So either you decentralize the model, because even pre-pandemic, if you look at Delhi NCR region, the real estates were going off the charts. And so many big organizations with deep pockets moved out of the business district and went further down road. That was very surprising because they calculated the cost of real estate is somebody's going to do that math that It's just the CTC that somebody pays. It's a total loaded cost to maintain a bum on seat. And that's almost like 1.5 or 1.7x of your CTC. Multiply that by 10,000 people. So then the overheads become some major dent in the margins. And therefore, it necessitates a hybrid environment. Whether you like it, accept it, whether it's in early stages, whether, like I gave you the Telegram example, when email as a concept was evolving, there were the naysayers, weren't they? It doesn't work in India. We pride ourselves in writing and personalization and all that. Lo and behold, people adapted. They abandoned something that was 160 years old. It took 10 years. Like email was like, oh, your Hotmail, that's a plaything. Then there were, oh, it's a passing fad, and all those kind of things happened. Eventually, people agreed and settled and admitted that not entire countries using email, but the percentage workforce using it is almost gone 100 times more. So the same logic will hold true, that the hybrid environment will become a logical financial necessity to operate. We have to then make our systems better, our immersiveness even better. I mean, like this conversation that we're having right now, just go back even 10 years earlier, it wouldn't be possible because we didn't have the bandwidth. It would buffer, it would stop, and if you go even 10 years back, this app did not exist.
Correct.
So, but now it's a reality. It seems as if you're sitting in one room and having this conversation. So clearly, the way ahead is to keep all these factors in mind and still stay relevant. And as Mr. Tom Cruise said way back when, is like there's the need for speed. You have to be there quickly, and that's your best bet at getting business.
Yeah, whatever happens, I think adaptability as a concept is never going to change. I think that will remain the bedrock of society forever. That's going to remain. Yes, absolutely. I agree with you. Now, moving on. So, post the 3 jobs, you took up a break, you took up entrepreneurship yourself. So, take us through your journey of entrepreneurship, and what were your learnings out of that? You can briefly talk about that.
Sure. It was more of an extension of what I was already doing. This was during the pandemic phase. So it necessitated a virtual reach out to as many people. And the opportunity presented itself to get into this consulting mode where I demystify the scalability conversation. What I mean by that is many of founders, startup founders that I speak with, they often believe that their product is God's gift to people kind, which is fine. It's their passion, and they think that it will automatically then scale. Not all, but many think that.
You're so detached when you speak some of these statements.
It's in their advantage.
I know. I'm trying to be a little critic of yours, but I like the way you put it.
Yeah, because what happens is we will always feel that and we should believe that we are doing a great job. But as history has it, that you always need a beta tester, somebody to crash test and see. It's like I have a culture code which says disqualify to qualify. So you have to keep on disqualifying it, that this won't work, this won't work. And it's not to discourage you, it's not to deflate you, but it's to see if you have got resilience. Because if I don't ask this question, the market will ask you this question.
Absolutely.
And therefore, 95% of the startups fail for this particular reason, that they have not beta tested and they've let a lot on assumptions. This will work and that will happen and this will work, and so all three will connect and happen. So my question to all these people who are great, you're building a great product or a service or feature. How will you take to market? How will you scale? How will it be relatable? Why should anybody care? And so my consulting piece came as a passion project. Like, can I just help you get out there a little bit, because most of them were tech geeks. So they were brilliant in engineering, architecture, design, which is fantastic. But if that were the case, some of the big tech did not need to have any salespeople at all. All the big tech would have said, "Oh, the branding is there, the product is damn good. People will automatically buy, so we don't need much." And as much as automation is kicking in and inbound, and the space has shrunk, but it'll never go away. So that's what I did in the entrepreneurial journey, and it was a very fulfilling experience where I made a lot of meaningful relationships, and people at the time didn't like what I was saying, came back to me in 6 months and said, "Wow, that really helped." And those are the things that you say, "Oh, okay, at least you made some impact to somebody." So some of those equations still remain.
That's fantastic. Okay. And if you can talk about at least one or two learnings out of it. I mean, your personal learning. I know you gave a lot of value addition to those people who consulted with you. But personally, what were your learnings?
At the peak of perfection, imperfection sets in. See, when you've just thought you've cracked it and you've figured out everything, you realize when you're at the top, you're farthest from the bottom.
Yes.
So you lose touch of ground realities. So career-wise also, when you reach the upper echelons, it's always important to have your ear to the ground and know what's actually happening. So this fine gentleman came and said, we need to do cloud first, mobile first. And we were like, okay, but how? Because the ground still needed to feel the server in hand, because they were comfortable being there. I want to see the computer, but what cloud? So what it needed was that bridge to land the message, saying that, listen, it's a model change. It's the way that we are selling that is changing. So the higher you go, you sometimes forget that people at the bottom or where you came from, in some sense, has completely changed from when you were there. So the big learning is always come down to that level and be more relatable. And instead of saying, "Oh, this doesn't work," understand why it doesn't work. And instead of giving them the whole big task to do, break it down into the small change. Like, can you just do this one bit and see if that makes sense? And you keep trying to make those. And it's an arduous task. You have to keep at it, but it works. Instead of just giving a blanket saying, that's why I hear this much overused term, paradigm shift. Like, I'm just done with listening to that. Yeah, what is paradigm shift at my level, at my situation, in my organization, in my company? I don't know. Explain that to me. And so at the peak of perfection, imperfection sets in. And so you need to, again, recalibrate yourselves as if you're a leader to align yourself to what the lowest common denominator is thinking or facing.
Great. That's very well put. Okay, now let's dive into your podcasting journey. Was this something which you started towards the end of your last professional career itself, or you took it up after breaking from the professional career and when you were on the entrepreneurial journey itself? How this happened?
I'll go back many years. I used to always scribble something in my diary.
Okay.
I wouldn't hazard to call it poetry. I would think it is poetry. It is not. But we have this artistic self, so you would scribble. Then they became small snippets. Okay. And by 2007, as in 2005-7, I started a blog.
Okay.
I started writing, and I had a couple of blogs. So I wrote. One blog was about this artistic, like short stories, microfiction, poems. And the other was about learnings that as I'm growing as a professional, because there was this inner voice of the mumbo jumbo that surrounds you. uh, got to me very early for some reason.
Okay.
I was like, what's the net of the story? Can you just cut across everything and I wouldn't get that answer because people
Okay.
were too afraid to speak sometimes, and many people didn't know what to say. So I started writing, and then slowly a lot of people gave the feedback, and I continued. I persevered for till 2014, 2015, I think. And somebody said, "Why don't you, I mean, I had this when YouTube was becoming YouTube in
Okay.
2008. Um, it's a missed opportunity, but being camera shy, I was not comfortable doing the camera thing. Uh,
Okay.
I'll write, and that have went into the podcasting thought as well. I struggled to do a YouTube channel despite so much of inbound. People have been very kind to say, start a YouTube channel. That's like your core competency. I struggle.
No, I mean that's a misnomer actually. In fact, I'm a complete introvert like you. It is just that I have been persistently trying to do.
That's what it takes.
Yeah,
That's exactly what it takes. You have to try, and I try,
yeah.
and because part of the introvert problem is that we want it to be a good job done and not a shoddy job done. And I have too much of requirement that okay, the lighting has to be nice. I have to shave. I have to look presentable, and then the background should a whole bunch of things. So I found the easy way out in podcasting, and that's why I called it bus talk. Bus as in the Hindi word bus, which means simply talk, just say what you want to say, and it's more like think of it like a water cooler conversation, which instead of generally, you know, gossiping, can we just sometimes have real conversations which are not bounded by, oh my God, I will get judged. What will happen if I ask this and stuff? So the origin of the thought was there is a lot of content, leadership content, right? Big leaders writing big books about strategies. There is a lot of content for youngsters, like for career path and all. But those in the middle, which is the largest chunk in India, because India is almost like corporate India is like a rhombus structure where the middle is the fattest, if you will. There is not much content, or at least not that I know of, was available. Who's addressing the folks from, say, 3 years of WorkX to 13 years or 4 to 14 years of WorkX? Because you will, in the 3 decades of your career, the first 5, 7 years will be the fastest. Like you're the most employable zone. The moment you cross the 5, 7 year mark, you start to become, a precious commodity. Your CTC goes up, your employability in some sense goes down because 60% of this country is below the age of 30. And so the moment you get to 35, you're like in rarefied, and then the competition is tough. And therefore, you don't know how to navigate up, go upwards. So somewhere I was trying, or my attempt is to address that audience and see, can I just bring up every day at work, like simple things, like you don't need to fear if you had doubts, and on the backdrop of sales and business development, because that's been mine, but it's not just restricted to that. If you're a marketing professional, this will relate to you. If you're a finance professional, it's still mine, because the organizational culture, hierarchy, navigating management, everything is interrelated. Like hiring, I have a lot of episodes on the hiring mistakes people do. So that's why I keep doing the and that's why it is sustained, because it doesn't require, that content is already there, and there's no fear of it, that I have to present something big. My disclaimers are, if you're looking for life changing advice, top 3 things to do and 6 things, and this is not it. The more people get surprised, like, no, I don't have any capsule. And that's the reason I do solo, is because I start with some topic, I often digress and go into some place else. I want that flexibility, because otherwise I'm always under a framework.
Correct.
And that is when the authenticity comes across, that I'm a regular guy, nothing is etched in stone. It's a work in progress, and we are going this journey together. I have no such ambitions of it becoming like a Joe Rogan experience where there'll be 35 million. I'm not doing it that way. Even if there are 15,000, I'm happy with that. Like a small ring-fenced set of people who are probably stuck in traffic, who are, Bangalore traffic, right? 2 hours stuck from just to go like 5-10 kilometers, or in Delhi or in wherever. And they're just plugged in. Like, okay, this is like a good conversation to have. And so I keep it, I deliberately keep it slow burn and easy on the ear, and there is no such great management gyan. And I also, I have a framework, and then I go spontaneous because I recollect experiences. And therefore, bus talk works like that. And everything that is outside of this is captured in Aayanisms, because I'm very passionate about, I'm a CSK tragic, so a lot of cricket commentary is there, movie reviews, pets, and geopolitics primarily. And so even when I say Nihilisms, I talk about movies. I don't do this classical, so in the first scene, this happened, in the interval, this happened, and this is what happened here with the actor. I don't detail the movie. That's not my kind of review. My kind of thing is my inference. As a audience, what did I take away? Does it raise the artistry, cinematic artistry in all components, cinematography, sound design, editing, acting, script? So I talk about those things that you reflect on the movie rather than giving away the movie. And I have a pet, so I talk about pets, and of course the geopolitics is. I'm not an expert by any stretch of imagination, but because we are living inside that, we're impacted by it. So Aayanisms gives that vent and outlet where it's not a rant or anything, but it's more of an observation where I talk about insights into these things that happen in our lives outside of work. So I've divided, because it originally started that I wanted to have one portal with two subheaders. One would be work related and would be outside work related. But it does not permit you to do that. These platforms don't permit, and hence it necessitated to create two different podcasts. Basically, that's the net of the story.
So how do you work on the stories? I know, for the work related, which you do it on the bus stop, that's more of what probably you have been writing since 2004. And a lot of it is experiential, which you probably keep jotting in down. So how do you plan your episodes? Do you make it a point to do it every week, both the episodes, or how do you do that?
So this year in season 5 in Bus Talk, what I've done is I've published a year calendar, just like your marketing calendars. And I've given the theme for the month. So theme for the month in January is building robust teams. Within that, there are subtopics: how to hire top talent, how do you retain people, all that. So likewise, so 12 months have these themes, and the theme will have subtopics, and keep it like that. So it becomes a little more structured. In Aayanisms is more flexible, right? The burning issues that happen. I switch on NDTV and I see, oh, this is happening. Is there a intelligent point to add, or are you just reiterating what people already know? If the answer is latter, then I don't publish an episode at all. If there is something that I think I could do some value addition, can I make some sense? And if there is especially there are so many these reaction channels these days, and they review India from outside with a lot of misconceptions. Like who's telling them? Not that everybody's, at least I'm making an effort that there is a voice that is going on. It's just not reaching globally. But if someday they see, they will see, oh, I was probably assuming this about the country. Like if you remember, a great anecdote would be like when we were growing up, for many of us, say, when somebody said United States of America, the first imagery that came to mind was Manhattan. And so when I landed up in San Francisco, I was like, okay, now I'm going to see like 100-floor buildings. And lo and behold, when we crossed the downtown, which is absolutely fantastic, the highest building was 5 floors tall. Like, where is my 100 floors building? This is not good. Like, that kind. But it's the image, the naivety, the stereotype that you get fed in. the same happens with India. When you say India, with external media covering, usually it's the cow on the road, the chaos of a snapshot of an area called Chandni Chowk in Delhi, where the wires are overhanging and it's a dingy lane. And that is India. Like, sure, that is India. There is, but if you look at the pie chart, there is the other part also. Who's talking about it? Because that doesn't make for great news that India is doing well. Now, I mean, I'm talking many years ago. Now, at least many people have to acknowledge that you are the fifth largest economy. And so I make it an effort to touch upon some of these factors, which set the record straight, fact-based, neutral, non-jingoistic. There is no overt nationalism, there's no religiousness angle to that. It's a very simple, ordinary citizen to ordinary citizen conversation.
So basically, Aayanism is more spontaneous based on whatever you're seeing around the world. And Bastalk, you have actually put a structure to it so that every month you are actually going to stick to a particular theme to go about it. Okay. Now that you have written for so many years and you have done so many episodes, have you not written some book, or you're in the process of coming out with a book? I mean, if you can take us.
Yes, absolutely. I have finished writing the book. It's almost 310 pages, and the publisher got freaked out. Like, oh my God, who's going to read such? Nobody has time. I said, exactly. The audience that I'm writing for doesn't read. So the first thing I told the publisher that my intention is not to be the next bestseller and sell million copies. And the guy was gobsmacked. Like, every new author wants to say, like, my book is God's gift to people kind. I said, no. That is not the case. Would you still be interested in publishing? And so, once you set the frequency, you find the right people. So right now, the book is under review with this publisher. And if they like it, then they will edit and, we'll work through whatever. And then it should take about maybe 2 months to publish it out. And even if it doesn't, I will self-publish because
I think self-publishing is also not a big challenge. You can actually
no, it is not. Like I said, the idea is it's like a bucket list more than trying to prove anything. But fortunately, I have found a publisher who has a similar frequency, saying that I explain the problem statement that what am I trying to? So I'm trying to address. Are you writing a sales book? No, there are lots of sales books. Is this a management gyan book? There's lots of management gyan. I said, no, I'm talking about the culture which impacts the sales, the management, the this, the that. So it's a mix of a lot, but it is again targeted to that specific audience. Leadership will find it interesting because it impacts them, and youngsters will relate to it because they will go through this journey. Early career people, and of course the mid-career, it is primarily written for them. And so fingers crossed, maybe another 2 or 3 months it should be out.
Great. So Aayan, it was great to talk to you, and very, very fascinating, very, very philosophical in your approach to everything what you're doing and the way you responded to the different questions. So I found it very, very stimulating, and some of it actually are hard-hitting and straight when it comes to giving the message. I found it very, very interesting and learning experience for me. Not just about your podcasting, but about your entire journey of professional career. And so thank you so much to be part of this conversation. And we will try to catch up again and probably talk on specific subjects where some of the subjects which you have probably already done some solo episodes on your podcast, and we'll pick up some of those topics to do a conversation around it.
No, that'd be a great idea. The way forward could be if you could pick a topic and come with, like, say, top 10 questions or top 5 questions.
Correct.
We can just discuss opinions and counter opinions. Like, oh, did you think of it this way? And if you have an audience that is receptive, they will find it very, very engaging. That it's
Correct.
a real conversation. I steer clear from the tropes of management and all those kind of things, but really practical, everyday, regular people kind of conversations really appeal to me.
Fantastic. So thank you, Aayan, for investing
you.
time with us today. And
Thank you for having me. I really appreciate it. I wish you all the best. And podcasting is a journey. And if you're passionate, I'm sure you will do well. Don't need to compare with nobody. As long as you're enjoying it, that's all that matters. So I wish you all the best.
thank you so much. Thank you for your time.
All right.
Hope you enjoyed this episode. We sincerely wish you could take something from our conversation today and be able to apply it to your life in a positive way. We value your feedback. This can help us improve our future episodes. So share your thoughts to serve you better. If you want us to focus on a topic which you think is of importance, let us know. We will share our expertise in future episodes. So, see you soon with a new topic and help you in your career journey.